Look at this. This is the SPL table, the top tier of Scottish football, the league table from 2008. Celtic won the league, Rangers came second. Players like Artur Boruc, Jan Vernegor of Hesselink and Stephen Fletcher graced the league. Celtic even made it to the knockout rounds of the Champions League that year, eventually losing to Barcelona. It's so cold. Just 12 years ago, time was different, and look how different the world is now. That statement is true for us all, but maybe more true for the team that came bottom of the Prem that year. In this video, I'll investigate yet another sad demise of another Scottish club who used to play in the top divisions. Sorry to have stopped your broadcast, but this video today is sponsored by OneFootball. I'll just take a quick minute to tell you about why OneFootball is one of the best apps out there for all the football news that you can think of. Let's, for instance, see what the UEFA Team of the Year nominees are. Here it gives you all the latest news on the women's UEFA team nominees, as well as the men's team as well. So yeah, look, you get all the latest news like that. Let's say, for instance, I want to look at the Scottish League One table. I can go to Scottish League One and go straight into here, and I can look at all the latest results, see what games are postponed and see who's been winning. I can look at the table and see that Falkirk are top and Cove Rangers are second. Remember, League One is the only league so far in Scotland whereby I've seen every single stadium there. So yeah, please do download OneFootball. It is the first link in the description box below and it is completely free, and by downloading it you are supporting my channel. Thank you very much, and back to the video. Look at that, you can see on there the old toll bar, first house in Scotland, built 1830, over 10,000 marriages performed there since 1830. This is where everyone comes to elope. If you didn't know, this is where, if you want to get married without anyone that you know, this is where you come. And right now I'm basically on the border of England and Scotland, but let me tell you more. Being a border town, you can't get much closer to England than Gretna. And look, that brown sign there, Scotland welcomes you. Let me take you to the English one. Here it is, the sign to the motherland. Welcome to England. Ready? Stepping foot into the country I was born in, and stepping foot into the country I now live in, Scotland and England. There used to be a football club in this town called Gretna Green. They were around in the 19th century and eventually went bust in like the 1920s. The town was without a club until Gretna FC was founded in 1946. I know this video is about Gretna being a Scottish club. I have now stepped foot back into Scotland. But yeah, let me take you back a bit. They actually began their amateur / semi-pro life in the lower leagues of football in England. They played non-league football in England until they were elected into the Scottish Football League, the SFL, in 2002. And this was the third attempt to join the Scottish ranks that they'd had. And look, here's this sign. Look, Land's End is that way, John O'Groats is that way. They are the two most northern and southern points in the UK. Obviously Land's End southern, John O'Groats northern. London 318, Gretna Green 1 and Edinburgh 89. Just to give you a little scale of where we are here. And look, first house in Scotland, the old toll bar. How amazing is that? So this Scottish club, technically, that played in England for so long, became the first club after Queen's Park in 1887 to compete in the English FA Cup. And they played teams like Rochdale and Bolton. But yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the Scottish side of their history in a minute. We're going to go down the ground and investigate, but they have an amazing story, from non-league of England to the Scottish Premiership to the Scottish Cup final to playing in the UEFA Cup to now being non-league in Scotland again for a Phoenix club. So yeah, it's an amazing story and you're not going to want to miss it. Right, there's some work being done on that other side of the ground, and I will try and go in actually because there's some workmen there. But firstly, let me just go around this way and see if there's anything else to see first before I tell you a little bit more about the history of Gretna and yeah, their sad demise. But here we go. Here we are at the ground, Raydale Park. You can see there, for some reason they have an anchor. I think these are two thistles, are they, on the badge? Let's kick racism out of football. Could not agree more. Not a huge amount to see around here, look. You can see this back end of the stadium's a little bit in need of a bit of repair work, maybe. But let's go and see if we can, yeah, have a little view around the front. Let me just extend the GoPro, see if you lads can get a view. There you go, just in case I'm not able to get in. Looks like there's a social club over there. So well, the Gretna fans must come for their pre-match pint when they're able to, obviously. And yeah, see, look here, there's some workmen doing some stuff to this part of the ground here. So yeah, we'll see if we can get a look at the pitch. We've been completely and utterly denied. They basically said they're working on the stadium. It's not for them to let me in, which is fair enough. They are just working on the ground. But yeah, here I am. I hope that that little bit of whatever I poked the camera up to around the corner was enough to see in. And yes, Gretna, I will have to come back again one day. But just look, I mean, they are doing work around the stadium there, but you see here from the walls of the ground, it isn't the best kept stadium from the outside, especially that other stuff that I showed you around there as well. And yeah, there's a reason for that, and let me get into it. There's a little gap down here. Can you see in? Ever so slightly. The things I do to come and look at stadiums, honestly. But yeah, as I mentioned earlier, in 2002 they joined the SFL and took the place of Airdrieonians, who went bust. A businessman called Brooks Milson took over Gretna and pumped a load of money into the club. And listen to their meteoric rise, it is amazing. Gretna won successive titles, tiers 4, 3 and 2, to win back-to-back promotions to get them into the Scottish Premiership, or Scottish Premier League I think it was called then. It's had a few name changes, but yeah, essentially they went from League 2 to the Prem in as quick a time as you can. They even scored 297 goals in this period, so they absolutely dominated. They even reached the 2006 Scottish Cup final. Being that they were a third tier team in that season, they were the first ever football team from that level of football, the first ever third tier Scottish club to reach the Scottish Cup final. And unfortunately for them, they lost on penalties to Hearts. And yeah, here you go, look, I keep trying to come around, and can we sneak another peek in there? Yes, we can. A little view of one of the little stands. Oh, it's so cold today. Very rural, this stadium, very rural ground. The smell of farms is in the air. And as you can see, yeah, look, it's kind of in and around the houses as well. But I've come right round the other side here to try and get a look in, and I can slightly see in, so there you go. Back to their story though, because they got to the cup final, the Scottish Cup final, they got into Europe for the following season. So they qualified for Europe even though they're a third tier team in Scotland. Again, the first team of that level to do so. Much like getting into the cup final, they were the first third tier team to then qualify for Europe. Their own ground was deemed unsuitable for UEFA competition. As you can probably tell, you probably couldn't have a UEFA game here because of the high standards that UEFA set for stadiums, and so they had to play their game at Fir Park, Motherwell. More on Fir Park coming later as well in the story. So yeah, quite amazing if you consider their early history, that they were 8th tier in England, non-league, you know, quite an obscure small team, to now playing in Europe. And yeah, it was at this ground that they might have been able to play if their standards would have been high enough, but no, they played their European game over at Motherwell. So quite a trek actually for the home fans. Let's see if there you go, get a bit of a view in. And when they finally got promoted to the Scottish Prem in for the 2007-2008 season, they didn't play a single home game here. And that takes me back to Motherwell Stadium. They played every single home game at Motherwell. Again, it wasn't even deemed suitable, this stadium, for the Premiership of Scotland, let alone UEFA. They lost their first league game 4-0 against Falkirk and only picked up 4 points in their first 12 games. As the season progressed, the club's financial situation worsened. It became apparent that the club had accumulated debts of around £4 million. Their owner, Brooks Milson, who I mentioned earlier, fell ill and withdrew all his funds from the club. In early 2008, much of the Gretna staff didn't actually get paid, and thus started a string of resignations from the staff. And the club were put into administration and deducted 10 points, meaning that they only had 6 points for the season out of 28 games. Somehow, amid all the crises, they won their very last game of the Premiership season against Hearts, meaning that they narrowly avoided the record low points tally for a Scottish Prem season. After administration and takeover attempts failed, the club withdrew from the Scottish Football League on the 3rd of June that year. Just 6 years after joining the Scottish Football League, they rose through the ranks, got to the Premiership, got into Europe, and then left again. Local team and an athletic won the vote to replace Gretna in the SFL. With no ground, staff, players or competition to play in, the club was formally liquidated not long after, and Gretna were officially no more. But like in most cases, fans don't want to wither away without a fight. The Gretna Supporters Society formed a new club, Gretna 2008, and joined the East of Scotland Football League. Initially they played their home games at Annan, but in 2009 they moved back here to Raydale Park. They now lease their rightful home from a community group who own the stadium, I believe. And they now compete in the Scottish Lowland League, and I should be watching them play soon, so stay tuned. So from non-league in England to the Scottish Cup final to UEFA Cup to the Scottish Premiership to liquidation to a new club to non-league, the people of Gretna have been on some roller coaster over the years. Please do remember to like this video, subscribe if you aren't already, and drop me a comment if you know anything about Gretna that I've missed out. I'll leave some videos on screen so you can keep watching my content, but for now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.